Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
Never in doubt. This game was in the bag right from puck drop. So,
indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, just changed my background there.
There you go. Yeah.
Like it. Now we're cooking. Bruce, Battle of Alberta turned out to be quite actually one of the most entertaining games in some time, and a 3-2 Oilers overtime victory. Let's get right at it because we're going to go 2 good things each, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. Bruce, what is your first good thing?
Yeah, well, it's got to be that guy who's sort of looking over the top of your head there, Leon Draisaitl. Welcome back to the lineup. I wrote this morning that he was coming back and how bad the Oilers needed something to turn their way. And by pure will of force, Leon Draisaitl turned this game in Oilers' direction. And you'd never guess he was coming off an injury. Like, he was flying, I thought, right from the start. Came out skating hard and doing the all 3 zones thing and transporting the puck a lot and firing away on net. He had 8 shots in this game on net, 12 shot attempts in all. Forced several fine stops from Dustin Wolf. But he also made a few nice passes, including the great pass to Victor Arvidsson. Kind of a little bit lucky, I guess. It caught a stick on the way through, and it got through to Arvidsson anyway, and he ripped it home to tie it 1-1 midway through the second period.
No, right at the end of the second.
It was late. Left. Was it that late? Yeah. Okay.
So that was huge, right?
4 minutes left. Yeah, it was starting to look like a 1-0 game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that tied the score. And then the third period, they fell behind again. And once again, it was Leon who produced the tying goal. And it wasn't just Leon. It was a pretty terrific backtrack by Darnell Nurse and sort of spur of the moment pass from Evan Bouchard that sprung Leon up the right wing. But you think he's coming up the right wing, he's looking for a pass, all of a sudden, wham! It's in the net, right inside the post, and then the puck, it hit the net and it went up. What's going so hard? Didn't bounce down onto the ice. It went up into the roof of the net and rang around. Very picturesque for a 50th goal of the season. Did I mention that part? 50th goal of the season, first NHLer to get to that total this year, and he might be the only one. There's one guy,
he will be.
Michael or William Nylander with 42, and for tonight at least everybody else was like 37. And I don't think any of those guys will make it. Nylander has an outside shot if he stays hot, and Leon very likely has already now enough goals to secure that crown this year. And
the
I don't suppose he is done scoring goals just yet. But anyway, that was number 50 on the wicket shot. And then came the heroics in the overtime, which again he won with another great shot. But first, I love the play way down in Edmonton's territory where the puck bounced over to the boards and Nazem Kadri tried to outbattle Leon for it, and Leon just got good position on him. And when Kadri came for it, he just bounced him down on the ice. And all of a sudden, like that, it's 3 against 2. Leon whips it up the ice to Jeff Skinner, joins the rush. No Kadri because he's picking himself off the seat of his pants down in the Oilers zone. And Skinner sends it back to Draisaitl as Bouchard charges the net on the other side, and Leon just takes it right in between the tops of the 2 circles. bam, same shot, right on the stick side, about an inch inside the stick side post, and 18 inches off the ice, just perfectly placed, overpowered the otherwise very excellent Dustin Wolf for the second time in just a few minutes, with basically the same two different angles, but the shot was basically the same, and he put it in the same place relative to the goalie. He just beat him, flat out beat him in the what I call the Sakic spot, just above the pad, just inside the stick side post, and just a fabulous way to end the game. And for his first game back, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, +3 in a 3-2 win, and 22 minutes and 24 seconds to lead all forwards. What more could you possibly ask for? And the team that desperately needed a jolt of something pushing them in the right direction after some not so good results while these guys were out, and the big diesel powered the engine in this game and got her done.
Yeah, the big man, the aircraft carrier. He, Bruce, first of all, huge relief to see him back, but not just back, but just skating so well, because like other players have come back and they haven't looked good, like Ekholm, case in point, who didn't play tonight. Hopefully they've learned their lesson with Ekholm, and they're just will sit him the rest of the year until he's ready for the playoffs. Like as ready as he's going to be. Maybe he's got some kind of injury that can only be cured with surgery in the off season. But whatever it is, just let it rest if you
Manage
can.
it as far as you can.
That's why this win's so important tonight, because it just sets the Oilers up, not having to worry about a playoff spot anymore. So it's just a massive
It goes
relief.
a long way towards that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was getting concerned, 7 points. We talked about this last game.
Yeah. Dustin Wolf, you mentioned him, so did the broadcasters, looking forward to playing in the Battle of Alberta. Well, welcome to the Battle of Alberta. You're not in Kansas or wherever he played in the AHL last year anymore, Dustin. Leon Draisaitl's shots are something that he would not have experienced at a lower level of play, because no one can, there's 5 guys in the world who can shoot the puck like this, and the velocity that Leon gets on his shots when he's coming in and seemingly not in a great scoring position, coming down the wing, for instance, or kind of in the high slot, and the placement and the velocity, that's unlike anything Dustin Wolf has ever seen in the past. So maybe he's up for a challenge. Well, he's got one, because those were 2 dead eye shots. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. The second one, Jeff Skinner had done nothing all game, just really was invisible. That line was so weak. I thought Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, and Skinner. I have some expectations for that line to play well.
Oh, sure.
They hardly did anything on the attack. And anyway, but Skinner redeemed himself at least somewhat by making that nice pass back. He knew who he's a smart guy. So even though he's a shooter, he knows who to pass it to in overtime, and he passes it over to Leon for the big goal. You asked what more could we ask of Leon Bruce? I will say there was one blemish on his game. He was late in the second period. He was last man back essentially in the offensive zone at the blue line, and covering for Kulak, who had moved into a shooting position. And the puck broke out up the middle of the ice, and instead of retreating like he should have, because he's last man back, and covering the guy who went in for the 2 breakaway shots, he charged the guy with the puck. And again, we say it again, Jason Strudwick's famous line, never trust a forward. Leon really, that was a pretty weak defensive play, because 2 breakaway shots by Farabee, who's got a
charged at the guy, rather than play. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure how great of a backward skater he is, to be honest. He's a wonderful.
He could have just skated with Farabee, though.
Skater, but yeah, he could have turned and skated with him.
Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't score.
He didn't. Pickard was great, and he didn't score. But that was a tough moment for Leon in the game. And because of that, I only gave him a 9 out of 10. I would have happily given him a 10, but that was such a major mistake.
I would have given him
in a 10, crucial moment. Why, Bruce?
I would give him 10. Well, we used to call 10 perfect until we finally came to our senses, thought there's no such
No,
thing as
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
And we changed the word to transcendent, which means a guy rises above the game to dominate it from some special realm on high. It takes a truly extraordinary performance. I think we got that. Like I say, 2-1-3 plus 3-3-2 overtime win over Calgary. That's delivering the goods in every way, shape, and form. Made one mistake and the goalie bailed him out.
Well, you make a strong argument, Bruce, about the transcendent part of it, but nonetheless,
You did give him a 10
I can't.
deservedly a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure we've yet had a player got two of them in one season. So
Oh, I think
they're
so.
hard. They're
McDavid
hard
must
to
have done
get
it.
there. They're hard to get. Maybe
Yeah,
McDavid got two one year. I know
yeah.
I've never given out two in total in any one season. The most I've ever given out in a season is one. So
You know,
they're
I
few and
just
far between. But to me, this was one.
close. I just think
Mhm.
defensive play is so important.
Yeah,
And if the Oilers are going to win the cup, they've got to play
yeah.
championship defense. That was not even
They
close.
got to get the
He's one of the
saves.
team. He's one of the team leaders. He's got to be on the ball. And
Mhm.
the fact that the goalie bailed him out doesn't make up it. We're not. Everyone's not super mad at him right now because of it. It's not.
Right.
It's not top of mind for people, if it, as it would have been if it had been a goal. Although everyone would have just blamed Bouchard
Oh.
anyway. But anyway, 9.
Well, if
Bruce,
the other
what is
goalie hadn't bailed Calgary out, Leon might have had 5 goals because Wolf robbed him about several times. So anyway, goalies are people too.
Well, I give them full credit for the quality of the shot
I
as
know
well.
I'm pulling your leg.
Okay, I go
Oh,
by
goalie
process.
here.
There you go. Bruce, my first good thing will be Corey Perry, and on that same play where Farabee charged in there, it was
All
followed
right.
up by Flame coming in there and giving a good shot at Oilers goalie Calvin Pickard, and then there was more. They went after that player, and then everyone started to go after each other, and someone went at pushed around Kapanen a bit, and Perry just jumped in there and started throwing him. Bruce, I loved it. Um, Chris Pronger said after Stuart Skinner got bumped by Rantanen and there was no real response to it, and there wasn't. Um, all the rest of the game, I was hoping the Oilers would just either bash Rantanen or bash someone in retribution. It never happened. And Pronger was talking about how unacceptable that was in his mind. That the Oilers needed to assert themselves and send a message to other teams way earlier in the season on this kind of thing. And Perry had done that after McDavid got mugged by Connor Garland. He had dumped Quinn Hughes on his head, but there had been too much, as the phrase, taking liberties, and
Mm-hmm.
Stu Skinner got knocked out of the game. So
Yeah.
Corey Perry after that said he blamed himself, which it was just a fantastic comment that he made, taking responsibility, and then not blaming anyone else, saying the team was going to talk about it. Well, they evidently did, and they came to a decision, and so he took it upon himself.
He
He's on
set the example. Yeah.
he's thinking, all right, we decided we're going to do something. I'm doing something, and he did. He
Right.
started to throw punches. It was a needed hockey play. It's how the NHL games played, and he's showing his value to his team right there. I think in a really significant way, that the other players will notice, and they'll all stand up a little taller and be a little firmer, I think, as the year goes along, because they have teammates like Corey Perry and a few others who really are, on the ice stand-up guys.
Well, this was a pretty rugged game, I thought. Even though the hit counts are not that high, I wonder sometimes about the hit counters in some of these games. But it was 18-15. But I thought there was a lot of very strong, hard battles throughout this
Yeah.
game. And Perry certainly led the way in the incident you described, which I'll suggest wouldn't have happened if Draisaitl hadn't made that defensive mistake. So I think Leon deserves credit for that.
You got me there, Bruce.
Yeah. You know what? Backlund never even got a penalty on that play. They didn't. It wasn't a fight. It was Kapanen got 2 for roughing. Anderson got 2 for roughing, and what I saw was Anderson dropping capping roughly to the ice, capping and getting spilled, which is what
Yeah.
Perry came in. He was coming after Anderson. And
Yeah.
then Backlund tried to pull him away from the pile, and Perry said, "All right, then, whoever." uh, he got 2 for roughing Perry, and Backlund got nothing. And I mean, what are they watching? Like, didn't all the gloves come out? Did I imagine the gloves came off and they were like throwing punches, bare knuckle
Looked like a
punches?
fight to me.
I mean, Perry was doing most of the throwing, I'll grant you. But anyway, very odd call. And somehow Calgary came out of that one with the power play. And they could clearly not do anything wrong tonight. I was not too enthused with the men in stripes at moments of this game. But
Uyghur punched.
we won't go there.
Well, I'm going to go there for
Oh,
just a
yeah,
second.
yeah. Okay. By all
Uyghur
means.
punched. In overtime, there was a scrum around the Oilers net, and Uyghur punched Bouchard right in the face, like an overhand right, bam, right in the face. That's a penalty. Like that is a punch right in the face. As hard as he could punch, punched him right in the face. How is that not roughing? I know it's overtime. Who cares? It's a penalty. So
third period, second period, there was infractions that just Hyman got hauled down a couple times. Anyway, all's well that ends well.
Bruce, what is your second good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the netminder, Calvin Pickard. I thought he came up with a big game tonight. I wasn't totally thrilled with the rebound on the first goal against, so there was extenuating circumstances, and it got pounded in. So the Oilers spent a lot of this game. They spent over 30 minutes trailing 1-0, and then they spent another 10 minutes in the third trailing 2-1. At any point, if Calgary had extended to a 2-goal lead, I really wouldn't have liked Edmonton's chances. Calgary's defensive record is so strong, and their young goalie is very, very good. And clearly, the goals weren't going to come for free, and they didn't. But they stayed in touch, and they stayed in touch in significant places because Cal Pickard made big stops when he needed to, most notably that double save on that late second period breakaway. But that was far from the only one. There was a rocket in the third period when Calgary got that penalty when Podkolzin got called for tripping about 5 seconds after the crowd thought Calgary should have been called for tripping. Now, Podkolzin's was definitely the bigger, more obvious trip of the two, but one got let go and one didn't, so the crowd was snarling. Calgary nearly scored on that power play, and Pickard made a great save on the hard shot from the side of the net that he just got a piece of. I saw it as a 5-alarm chance, and just the total number of super hard chances wasn't that high, but at the end of the night, Calgary had 28 shots and only 2 of them went in. Right, so that's a very strong 929 save percentage, and the record this year is anytime the Oilers goalies land over 900, the team generally wins, and win they did eventually in this contest. And good on you, Pickard, for putting your thumb in the dike. This was his third game he played in the last 4 days. Normally he plays once a week. He came in the third period against Dallas. Then he played the first 2 periods against Seattle, and now, of course, all 3 tonight. So that's a lot of action for a guy that usually watches 2 out of every 3. And he saved his best game in the 3 for this one. And so he's my second good thing.
He really came up big on Farabee. Like that was those saves were huge. And I think let me just see this, Bruce. The grade A shots were 11. Both teams had 11 grade A shots, and both in the subset of 5-alarm shots, both teams had 4. Although they subject to review. Anyway, it just solid saves when they were needed from Calvin Pickard. So good work from him. And he's looked good. generally speaking, in 2 out of 3 games in the last while. So that's not bad. He's looked really good in those games, and he looked really good in this one. Yeah, there was like 2 really in tight chances from Rooney and Mount Klapka, in the second
That's
period,
huge.
and then the
Oh,
Farabee
oh,
heroics, and that kept the Oilers he kept the Oilers in this game, gave him a chance to win. I thought it was a great game. I gave him an 8 out of 10.
well, both teams, by our count, would be expected to get 2.7 goals. If
Yeah,
we give 1 and 3 chance on a 5 alarm, 1 and 5 on all other grade A's. Uh, anyway, here's what natural stat trick had in this game. This was incredibly close. This is all situations. Shot attempts 63 to 60 for Oilers. Shots on net 29-28. Scoring chances 28-27. High danger chances 10-10. And expected goals 2.64 for Edmonton, 2.65 for Calgary. Like,
we just
you couldn't
mirrors
fit a piece
our
of
numbers.
paper between those two teams on the stat sheet. Like, that's, I mean, and all, it should have ended a tie. Of course, we don't do that anymore, but this was a tie game that actually, was tied at the end of regulation, and it was, just last shot wins, and we got the 50 goal sniper, and you don't.
Indeed. Bruce, my second good thing was Darnell Nurse. I just thought he had a great game as well.
Mhm.
And he led the team in ice time, threw a big hit on Farabee early in the game. He was physical throughout the game. Led the team with 5 hits, 2 assists. And it's the 2 assists I just want to talk briefly about because they were both fantastic plays. On the first one, was in the O zone, and he gets the puck, and he makes just a really brilliant no-look backhand pass to Draisaitl, who put it over then to Arvidsson. But it was that pass, the quickness of that pass, and the right on to Draisaitl really made that goal happen. And it was a great skill play by Darnell Nurse. He looks that's as confident a game as I've seen him play in at least a month since I praised him as having his best season in ever. He had been in a bit of a mini slump. I'm sure they're not related, but
It
he
always
had been not
happens.
playing that well recently. But man, he looked like, man, that is the Darnell Nurse we all hope to see, and we're seeing it most games, vast majority of games this year. Then on the tying goal by Draisaitl, the Flames were rushing up the ice, and he made an outstanding poke check and put the puck up the boards to Bouchard, who made a spectacular, again, no look backhand pass across the ice to Draisaitl, who was churning in there. So Evan Bouchard really redeemed himself. He didn't have a strong game on defense at all, but he made a hard charge on the winning goal, which opened up space for Draisaitl, and he made that great pass on the tying goal. So 2 great offensive plays by Bouchard, and just a great overall game by Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, yeah. That looked like an odd man rush developing for Calgary, and Nurse put out the fire before it got through the neutral zone, and then
Yeah,
Bush made that pass that you wouldn't like to see that pass under most circumstances, but when you're down by a goal late in the game, you got to start taking some chances, and he did, and he got it over to Leon, and good things ensued. But the stop by Nurse was outstanding, really, really strong play. So
yeah.
he played big minutes, 25 minutes tonight, 28 shifts.
2608, isn't it?
Is it okay? I've got it at 25:30 on the game sheet, but sometimes
Oh,
they
well, I
they
looked at it
jig around
earlier.
with this. So
Yeah, I
uh,
looked at it previously. Maybe they've updated it because they always do change it, or they often do change it. Let's see what he's got now.
3 shots, 5 hits, 2 block shots, 1 takeaway. Nothing bad.
You're right, 25
Officially,
30. Yeah, it's changed.
nothing bad officially. And he landed a couple of real nasty hits too. Could
Yeah,
have been
he sure
called on at
did.
least one of them. But yeah, he ran Kadri real late in the period. And he just sort of had it playing with a bit of nasty edge. It was he was up for the Battle of Alberta, and I thought he played an outstanding game.
What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with uh, Max Jones. He played 5 minutes and 21 seconds in this game. 5 minutes and 21 seconds. And yet, in that time, he managed to make what I saw as the crucial mistake on a goal against, the one that opened the scoring. And Calgary came breaking out of their own zone. There was 2D back, and Jones was the closest forward. And he did the right thing. He came back and he turned it into a 3-on-3. Except when he got into the defensive zone, he had no idea what to do. And he was with the guy who went on to score the goal, who just drove to the net and potted the rebound. But Jones was sort of attracted to where the puck was, even though a defenseman was lining that guy up. And he cruised over in the general direction of the puck carrier, who simply shot the puck at the net, created the rebound, and the guy with the free path to the front of the net, guess what? He took it and he scored. And I just thought, this, it's just not really acceptable defensive hockey to make a mistake of that nature. And it'd be one thing if he scored occasionally. He's got 1 point all year. And I think 18 games now, 1 point. 17 games maybe, with 7 with Boston and 10 with Edmonton. He scored in the first period of his first game, an assist, and nothing since. And I think he's now up to -5 in his 10 games with Edmonton. And too often we've seen, we've talked about previous games, 5 minutes -1 with a penalty. Well, tonight he didn't get a penalty. In fact, tonight, according to the stat sheet, other than that -1, if you dug into the event summary, apparently he didn't play because he had no points, no penalties, no shots, no shot attempts, no hits, no giveaways, no takeaways, no block shots, no nothing. So he did have a cheap shot where he kind of nailed one of the Calgary guys in the neutral zone. I'm surprised he didn't get credit for a hit on that because it was certainly contact of some description. Calgary was running around trying to get at him, so clearly he got under their skin a little bit. But I'm just not seeing here a player that's really helping. And I think he's in there because he was sort of the throw-in in the Trent Frederick trade, and he brings some of the same attributes, big guy, some speed, can be nasty. And with Frederick out and out and out and still out, and who knows when he's going to be back, it's like they're using Jones. The minute Frederick gets in there, I think he's gone. But that could be a while yet. But in the meantime, he's a little bit of an exasperating player to watch because you never, it's not easy to predict that he's just going to do the right thing and eliminate his man from the play. Some of the sort of things we take for granted at this level.
He made a really positive first impression on Oiler fans who were raving about him after the first couple of games. Actually, people were really excited about him. But man, his play has just fallen off. He's not getting anything done. And you're right, Bruce. That was not acceptable. Why don't you just everybody take a man? It's a 3-on-3 rush. Just take your man, and they don't score. And he just totally let him go. Let him go right in there and shoot and score. And my bad thing, Bruce, is a similar play. And this is even more unforgivable because it's by a veteran guy known for his defensive play. And it's Paul's goal, Braden Paul. I don't wonder if he's Clayton's son or nephew or something. Anyway, the Flames broke up the ice, and it was a dangerous rush from the start. Had the feeling of a dangerous rush. But the Oilers managed to kind of cover it off. Henrik hustled back, Kulak was hustling back. It starts off with Emberson blowing it at the blue line, not keeping the puck in, and that's why it's a dangerous thing because it's quick developing and Emberson's kind of out of the play, but he hustles back as well. So they're all hustling back and kind of containing them, and it looks like they might actually get out of it. They might have actually contained them. There's a pass back through Henrik's stick, and it looks like it's going to miss the guy who's coming through the slot. But the danger man comes, the fourth man, the fourth Flame comes charging up the ice. And it's Pahal, and he gets the puck in the high slot. He's wide open, and he puts it in, screened by Kulak. So why was he so open? How did they turn a 3-on-3 into a 4-on-3 with a danger man scoring the goal? It's because Matthias Janmark dogged it on the back check. That's the best way to put it. It's blunt, but that's how it looked, Bruce. He didn't hustle. He was not focused. He didn't recognize the danger. He coasted. And by the time he got going, it was too late. And for a veteran
Hall
player,
was his man.
Hall was his man, because he's a veteran player and a defensive specialist who's only scored 2 goals all year. He can't have that happen. He's in danger. Like, if everybody gets healthy, he could be the 13th man in the playoffs, although he is quite a valuable penalty killer, has been. And he is skating well. I thought he looked fast. He's been looking faster recently, skating faster, hustling harder. And in the playoffs last year, he was a beast. To give him credit, he really was. He was tremendous. He against Florida in the finals, he was one of the few guys who was still just giving it and causing all kinds of trouble for the opposition. But he has not had a good year since about the second or third month in. He's been in a major defensive slump. He's got to get out of it. Otherwise, he has no value to the Oilers, and they'll have to buy him out after this year, because he's got to crank it up, and he can't have plays like this. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, as you say, it's not like he's scoring goals at the other end, and it's give and take. The rate that he scores at, which is essentially not at all, based on the goal scoring front, he can't be giving up much. And on that play, he was just a bit slow to recognize the danger. I mean, Braden Pahal, you wouldn't think, but he wound up in the slot, firing into traffic and picking the corner, and there was no one around to check him because Janmark was trailing the play a little bit. So it's fun. He's such a funny player, David. I swear he is way more dangerous offensively on the penalty kill than he is at even strength. Way more. Like, he gets the puck in his own zone, and his first thought is, I'm going to take it up the ice and attack with it, which you never see that from 5-on-5. His whole mindset changes. Twice tonight he led dangerous-looking rushes on the penalty kill where, he picked it up inside his own territory, and by the time he didn't have the puck anymore, it was, in the direction of Calgary's net. And I can't quite remember how these plays worked out, but I do know he has like 5 shorthanded points since last year's playoffs, and this year, like, him and Brown are way more likely to score short-handed than you would think more offensive players like Nugent-Hopkins and Henrique. But it's just funny. But when they're at 5-on-5, it's all about playing the position, and then tonight that didn't happen. So you're rightfully ripping them.
To answer my own question, Clayton Pahal and Braden Pahal are related. They're second cousins, according to the internet, which always wins, which never wins. Clayton Pahal, for people who aren't total hockey nuts from the 1970s, was on the absolutely, the Philadelphia Flyers of the Western Hockey League in the 70s was the New Westminster Bruins, stacked with absolutely intimidating, aggressive, big players. And Pahal was, I think, a smaller forward on that team, but super aggressive, got in all kinds of fights, and became quite a good scorer for that team as well. And he did end up playing 35 NHL games. So
with more penalty minutes than goals, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there were 95 penalty minutes in 35 games, 2 goals.
Yeah, there you go. Safe bet there. I would have said Medicine Hat Tigers of the Gasoff gang era would have been right there. But you're right, New Westminster. That was Patty Janelle, wasn't it? And
wasn't it Punch McLean?
No, it was
Ernie Punch McLean.
Yeah, Patty Janelle was. Yeah, it was
in Lethbridge, I believe.
Yeah. Anyway, it was. It was Ernie Punch McLean that was in New West. You're right, and they really were an intimidating crew for a few years there. That was right in the Bruins, Flyers, bad boys of hockey.
Yeah.
Johnstown Chiefs era.
Hanson brothers.
Uh-huh.
All right, Bruce, your number.
Yeah, I'm going to go with number 6. And that is the brand spanking new all-time NHL record for most overtime goals in one season. Achieved tonight and 5 other nights by Leon Draisaitl, who decided this game with another arrow to the heart in extra time. And in all the history of overtime, I've only pulled stats since 1983, 84 when they went back to it. But in the olden days, there's no way anyone would be close to this. Before tonight, we had a tie between Brad Marchand in 2017-18, Jonathan Taves in 15-16, Steven Stamkos 11-12, surprisingly, Alex Galchenyuk in 16-17 with Montreal. And this year, who could still tie the record if he gets another one, Sebastian Aho with Carolina with 5 each. And no one else has ever got more than 4. And now, as of tonight, Leon Draisaitl stands alone as the only NHLer to break up 6 overtime games. All the guys, you notice, all the guys I named, the overtime's been since the 80s, but they all were set in the 3-on-3 era, which has really transformed the nature of overtime to really highlight the star players and give them a chance to win it. And Edmonton have been so good at doing that. And so there's a new kid on the block, as Bob Cole would say. And so that's for you, Leon. And also, just incidentally, 6 was the number of mistakes on grade A shots that Brett Kulak had in the game, though I thought it was kind of a rugged game for him tonight.
It was.
And 2 goals. So he was very close to being my bad thing, but he's got to get it together a little bit. I think he's had a really good season, but this last little while,
he's really
it's been
slumping.
pretty uneven.
Yeah, no, he's really been slumping in the last 2 months. And I should do a post because our numbers really demonstrate that. His defensive game's fallen apart. He's been great 3 years in the playoffs, so Kulak running. So
I'm counting on him in the playoffs still, but he needs to turn it around a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, my number, Bruce. I'm just going to go with 89 points for the Oilers. That was Jack Michaels was saying at the start of the game that the Calgary's desperate for a win. I think he said it 2 or 3 times, and I was thinking every time he said it,
20 or
Jack,
30 times.
Edmonton is desperate.
Yeah.
So if they lose this game, they'll have 87 points, and Calgary will have 82. They'll only be 5 points ahead, and Vancouver has 81 points. You can't. You've got to. The Oilers have got to win this game to put, because one of the important things about winning this game is
even in overtime,
it's a stab. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. It would have been
ideally,
79.
Ideally, you win it in regulation, but
that would even be better.
2 points to 1 is in the position they're in is plenty.
It was a that would have been like a knife through the heart. This was just a knife in the gut for the Flames. But it really sets them back in terms of catching the Oilers, either Vancouver or Calgary. The Oilers are really, they're in a really good spot now. I don't think they need, like, they shouldn't press for home ice advantage. What they should press now for is rest for their star players. And if they lose tonight, how much more pressure is there than on Ekholm to get back when he should be sit out? All these guys, McDavid, sit out. Trent Frederick, even sit out. Klingberg,
until you're better.
Sit out until you're all really healthy. Evander Kane's out to the playoffs, but that's why this win was so big. It was huge for the Oilers. It really sets them up now, I think, to go into these last 9 games and not have to rush. They're going to have to win some more games, and they will. Like with Draisaitl back in the lineup, I think he is the MVP. He's carried this team on his back all year long. He's been their best player by far. It's the best 2-way performance we have ever seen from an Oilers center in the McDavid Draisaitl era. Better than, according to our grade A shots metric. It's the best we've ever seen. And it's just a little bit better than Connor McDavid has been in the past, but it's better. So anyway.
How many do you have tonight, Leon? Was he in on?
He was in on at even strength. He was in on 8 grade A shots for, and he made mistakes on the sequence where there was 2 grade A shots against. He was in on 1 grade A shot on the power play, so 9 major contributions to grade A shots and 2 major mistakes on grade A shots against. So really good. Just
well, I had some comments to my post today about him returning to the lineup, and people started saying, "Geez, I sure hope they're not rushing him back. It would be foolish to rush him back." And I kind of had a little bit the same thought, but I also knew he'd been, he took the game day skate on Wednesday. He didn't play Wednesday or Thursday. I thought he'll probably be chomping at the bit to go by now, especially against Calgary, who he's tormented his entire career, and he looked 100% fine. And, unless something weird comes out of this, I'm thinking they waited the right amount of time to get him in there, and they needed him. And they deployed him at the right time. And that does take the pressure off. Like Ekholm, if he needs an extra week, well, you give him that week. Because I think they're now, I was nervous. Thursday's podcast, nervous about just making the playoffs. And as of this moment, I'm feeling much more sanguine about that particular challenge. I think they're in. And with, these 2 points and the fact they beat, this is a game that could have swung 2 points the other way against one of the teams trying to overtake them, and it didn't. And so that's a real big deal.
Well, if Calgary, they have 10 games left. If they go 8-2, like if they get, let's say that they could theoretically do better, but 8-2 would be pretty darn good. That would be 16 points. They'd have 96 points. Well, the Oilers only have to get 3 more wins to get to 96 points. I don't know who wins the tiebreaker at this point. Is it head to head or is it goals differential? The first tiebreaker,
the first tiebreaker is regulation wins.
I see. Edmonton has way more regulation wins. They've got 42-34 right now.
No. Edmonton's got a bunch of overtime wins. This would be regulation
wins.
Got 12.
I was just looking at OT, the OT number.
Yeah, it used to be regulation OT non-shootout wins, but they changed it to sort of slightly more value, winning the game in 60 minutes. So Edmonton's not going to win that tiebreaker against too many teams.
They've hit 96.
Because they've had 12 overtime wins. So only 30.
I don't think they're going to have to worry about it in any case, the tiebreaker, because again, if they get 4 wins in their next 9 games or 3 wins in the next 9 games, Calgary or Vancouver would have to get absolutely red smoking hot to beat them for a playoff spot. So this really was a huge, huge moment, and few more wins and sit them all down. Bruce, sit down, call up. Sit them all down and play the farm team. I guess you can't do that because it's not allowed, but I don't know how many call-ups the Oilers have now actually left that they could make, but
they're allowed 4. They called up Derek Bryan. He was one of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I get Rodrigue was an emergency recall. I don't think he counts. And who else have they called up?
That's it. Now I think if Rodrigue goes past 3 games or something, though, it's no longer considered.
Oh, is that right?
Could be incorrect about that. Don't.
Yeah, no, that's a logical rule. A guy can't be an emergency forever. At some point, he's got to be a roster player.
He's on the team. Yeah. Alrighty, Bruce. That's it. Let's leave it there. And the next game is
Tuesday at Las Vegas, which is another real big reason you got happy with this win tonight. You don't want to be going into Vegas on a 3-game losing streak and them on a 6-game winning streak, So this is relieving the pressure a little bit. My boy Kevin is in Vegas and he's going to that game. So
cool.
That might be interesting.
Alrighty. I hope he has fun in Vegas.
Yeah.
I would never recommend anyone go there personally. It's not my kind of
I was
town,
there
but
once for on the Air Canada fan flight for an Oilers game in 2019
uh-huh.
that they lost. But it was fun. They've got the
Oh, that's right.
T-Mobile Arena was a laugh riot. They had, it was like a tailgate party before the game. There was just all kinds of sort of nice warm temperatures and people just, you know, wearing, I was wearing my Oilers shirt and we were giving back and forth, but there was absolutely no mean-spiritedness whatsoever. It was just sort of, you got your team and I got mine, and let's have some fun with it.
That's
As
good.
long as you're not rude about the other team, say you got good players, but so do we, So they have
Vegas is good.
quite the pre-game show, and the whole, certainly all the trappings are Vegas-esque.
Indeed. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.